Well, it looks like about 1,000 people would agree with you. I don't know. Maybe that. Maybe a little more. I'm not that good at estimating, but
This is a big place.
yeah. We're here because Ron Paul and Michele Bachmann are in town. They're holding a forum to talk about the issues that are on the minds of so many of us in America today. Healthcare.
Where do you intersect with them, Brandon? I know you've been following Ron Paul for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, I think maybe I found one issue I disagree with him on. So
What's that?
I'm pretty much in line with him. Well, and it may even be a former issue, and that was the death penalty, which he used to condone, which I don't. And he may have even turned the tables on that. I think now he says he'd leave it up to the states, as a true constitutionalist would. But I think personally he might be for it, and I'm against it. So in that respect, yeah.
But what are the other issues? Mostly you agree with him, and we think of him.
He's libertarian, and that's where I fall. So
I think that's a confusing statement to many people, which is unfortunate because how would you define it then? Libertarian, what's it for you?
Libertarian means, hey, Steve Beaver. Libertarianism it's a kind of a hybrid of the two parties, yet it's nothing like them at all. Because
you're around a concept.
Well, it assumes the social freedoms that the Democratic Party likes to talk about, and it assumes the fiscal freedoms that the Republican Party likes to talk about. But either party aren't that good of doing either of them anyway. So I think the only party that really can do it.
Do they push you out at all? Do you think they, in some ways, they conspire in a unconscious way ever to push you down?
Well, I mean, the platforms don't conform in either party to something that would accept me. But I have chosen to get involved in the Republican Party, much like Dr. Paul has, because there's two freeways to political change in this country, and they called it interstate Republican and interstate Democrat. And there's a couple of dirt roads, a couple of county trails that are
people who leave the road.
And so. I've met a lot of people who have gotten involved in the local Republican Party. There's a big vacuum in Minneapolis, of course, because there's very few Republicans there. But I've sort of been using that as a vehicle to maybe influence people to think and have a stage to express what I feel. So
I notice you never shout, so it's always been easy to talk to you.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's tempting. I understand that temptation, but
I admire William F. Buckley and Dick Cavett.
Yeah.
Because for 20 years they went sailing, but they probably disagreed about a couple things out there on the boat.
Yeah, I read that on your Facebook post, actually.
But on the other hand, they probably felt that each was their own best opponent. They would have been bored with somebody who couldn't take it up with them.
I used to hold these little roundtable discussions over at Procnet, St. Anthony, Maine, because I just wanted to have an intellectual discussion, get into the bottom of why conservatives and liberals differ on these subjects, especially when there's very intelligent people on either side.
I'm curious, when do you think that you decided to be who you are? I think I can actually go back to 4th grade and point to where I was defending Hubert Humphrey in front of the class.
Funny. I can remember being pretty well indoctrinated by my dad and relatives, the conservative cause. My dad had a Rush Limbaugh book, I recall. But
what age were you when you read that?
I didn't read it. I just had it.
But you knew about it.
Yeah, he had it up on the mantle. He liked it a lot. He was a ditto head for a minute. Really not much anymore, but college. I met a friend who said, we've drifted a long ways from where our country was originally supposed to go. And I didn't really even consider that. But then I realized the distance we've traveled and thought, how can people stand back and not...
What's your next step, Brandon? Where do you want to go from here? Politically, not just yourself, but what would you like to push us at? As a libertarian, how do you feel about this healthcare issue right now?
You know what? I also acknowledge I have to respect the country we live in and the citizens and what they want. And I don't think America will ever accept a fully libertarian solution to healthcare, which would be to get government completely out of it. But what I think is the right direction, it isn't stopping what the Democrats are doing. It's not enough. There needs to be a proposal, because everyone agrees that the healthcare problem is there. It's in the solution that the differences lie.
Something's changed, though, I think, because everyone now is saying that has to change, and that didn't happen a couple years ago.
Well, you know what documentary helped with that was Sicko. I watched that and I really liked it.
I haven't seen it.
You know, the Michael Moore documentary. And I went there thinking government should get out of healthcare. Michael Moore, of course, thinks we need more government in healthcare. But what I at least walked away from was the acknowledgement that, you know, it's bad. We just, you know, we have different solutions. No, there was a Wall Street Journal editorial written by the CEO of Whole Foods. Have you read that?
Yes, I have.
I like that a lot. I thought it was really smart. I really appreciated it.
He does highlight personal responsibility towards your own health.
Yeah. I mean, that's really it.
I went out and ran 15,000 miles.
I read the Huffington Post blog, and they hated the editorial.
It took a lot of heat. In fact,
I don't see how it could.
It went viral.
Because he just advocated responsibility. And to not advocate that is the detriment of entire society.
We got to talk about that more, but I got to go get set up.